as seriously as they take the party life anyway. Let's put it that way. And so I don't suppose I could have even given a definition of justice in those days, much less put us into practice. And quite frankly, I don't most of the other fellows could either in the fraternity. Maybe a few of them could, but most of them could not. Who's got a good definition of justice?
One thing that we try to really live by in this house is always trying to help out each other. Always looking out for each other is kind of our key go-to, is make sure no one's left behind. You're always extending a hand to help in any way you can, whether it be just everyday schoolwork, everyday spiritual life, everyday, I don't know, just interaction.
Well, it's a noble principle, and I think it sort of describes in action the golden rule. You remember the golden rule from church and Sunday school: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know, you invite and glad to get help of others and hoping to get through the college experience and get your diploma and so on. So that's what you want. So we ought to do that. We ought to do that to others. You stated that in a positive sense. That also applies negatively. You don't want anybody cheating you, so don't you cheat. You don't want anybody murdering you, don't you murder. You don't want anybody dishonoring your parents, so don't you dishonor your own parents, or other parents for that matter. So the golden rule is certainly a good principle to live by. I would define justice more specifically as getting what you deserve. What would be synonyms for justice? Fair. And what's one of the first things we say maybe to our parents? Well, that's not fair. I'm glad we've all said that. And I think we all intuitively have this sense of right and wrong. To have justice, there must be right and wrong. And some of those who oppose us on campus, well, what you're doing is wrong. I say, well, what's your stand for determining that? What's your stand for judging that? And usually they confess it's just their own opinion. But the Bible teaches, Christianity teaches, and I think this has been the historical position of the DUs anyway, that there are certain eternal principles of justice, of right and wrong, that we're all to live by. And there's a standard. What promotes the highest good of all, and what prevents the highest misery of all. And I often say to students, give me a more reasonable code of justice or ethical code to live by than the 10 Commandments and the Golden Rule. And they usually can't come up with anything, except, well, if it feels good, do it. We've all heard that one, haven't we? And which reminds me of some SAEs. One afternoon, these SAEs decided they were going to go skydiving. And they took a case of Miller Lite Life up in the plane, and they were drinking their beer and discussing the joys and excitement of skydiving. And one of the SAEs said, well, you know what would really feel good? You know what would really be fun? If we didn't use any parachute at all. And the pledge of the SAE says, well, I think you got a point there. I've always thought this parachute cramped my style. I never really felt free with a parachute on my back. So he takes another swig of beer, puts down his beer, and then throws off his parachute, jumps outside the plane, and wow, man, this does feel good. I feel so free for the first time in my life. Oh, I wish I would have tried this a long time ago. Splat! So wrongdoing or sin or lust or getting wasted, however we put it, might feel good, but there are consequences. it's not going to feel so good when at 50 you die of cirrhosis of the liver, or you end up with you know, you have a one-night stand and a few weeks later you're in the shower. Wow, what are these sores all over my genitals? You go to the doctor, you're diagnosed with a sexually transmitted disease that you might have to live with for the rest of your life. So there are consequences. We're not to be governed by our feelings. We're to be governed by what is right and what is wrong. And these eternal principles of justice are taught in the Bible. So we need to have a biblical foundation. I know when I was in college, we had a chaplain, I guess, of the fraternity, and we did have religious meetings every now and then. And I think there was a Bible study going on, but I think very few attended it, including myself. I did not attend at the time. So we need to learn what these principles are and put them into practice. Now, obviously, there's a lot of unfinished justice in this world. And if there's there are mass murderers and rapists who never get caught, and they prosper. And was Hitler's death in his own hands enough to pay? Because we're not going to get complete justice. We get some justice in the world. We may get more justice in America than other parts of the world, but I think we're losing that as well, because we're losing eternal principles of what justice is. We make it whatever we feel like making it. And so that points to me there must be a hell if there is an eternal God who is just. Now, thank God He's not only just, but God is what? Or merciful was the word I was looking for, which is basically the same. Usually contrast justice with mercy. Justice is getting what you deserve. We have a sign. Someone stole one of our signs today, but one of the signs that is most provocative, I'll hold up to students as they're going to and fro from their classes. It says, "You deserve hell." And sooner or later, a few people will stop. Well, why do I deserve hell? Well, I'd say we all deserve hell, because we've all done wrong. We've all violated what we intuitively know, what our conscience and reason affirms we ought not to do, or we fail to do what we know we ought to do. So we've all sinned, and sin separates us from God. We all deserve hell. That's the bad news. The good news is God offers us what we don't deserve. We don't deserve mercy. We don't deserve forgiveness. But if we confess, but biblical confession always implies turning away from the sin. We turn away from the wrongdoing and make a commitment not to do it in the future. You know, sometimes we think, well, I repent of my past bad deeds, but they keep doing it. They have no intention of giving it up. But we make this commitment not to do it again in the future, and believing with God's help, we can overcome wrongdoing. So we need to really ponder these principles that we find in the Bible. God is just. God is love. God is merciful. The Bible also says God is a consuming fire. God is wrathful. He's angry with the wicked every day. And He will in no way forgive and acquit the wicked unless they turn from their sins and call upon the name of the Lord. So I didn't know any of these things in college. I had the reputation in college as being the fastest chug-a-lugger amongst all the Greeks. And I was real proud of that. I could go, it was stupid. It was actually stupid, ridiculous behavior. But I indulged in it and wasted a lot of years doing so. And I did graduate with honors despite all my partying in college, and ended up getting a job teaching. I was in high school and In 1967, there was a popular hit song, went like this: when you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear a flower in your hair. I literally put a flower in my hair. Got in my 1967 Mustang. California, here I come. I got an apartment in Berkeley and a job teaching in the Bay Area. Now this is when the Haight-Ashbury hippie scene was at its height. And one Sunday afternoon, I decided I'd go to the Haight to one of these rock and roll concerts. Guess who was playing that day?
Jimi Hendrix.
I'll give you a hint. First word, another word for thankful.
Grateful Dead.
The Grateful Dead. By the way, do you suppose Jerry Garcia is grateful he's dead today? No. And so as I listened to these Deadheads, one of these hippie types came up and offered me the marijuana.
No.
You did it.
No, you didn't do it.
No.
I would do just about anything in those days. It feels good, do it. And marijuana can feel good, but obviously it's not good for your education. Why do people smoke marijuana? Why do people get drunk? Obviously, they're all to the state of their consciousness.